delighted to be a host for today's discussion. This event delves into the intricate balance between technology and human involvement in maintaining compliance within the sphere of global mobility. With the cost of non-compliance being notably high, this event emphasizes the critical need for manual inputs and human interaction alongside technology-driven solutions. I'm thrilled to have a distinguished panel of experts who will share their experience and insights on how technology can be harnessed to streamline compliance processes, augment efficiency, and minimize risk, while underscoring the indispensable role of human expertise in interpreting regulations, adapting to evolving compliance frameworks, and making informed decisions. So I'll ask my esteemed panelists to introduce themselves alphabetically. So I'll start with Atika. Can you please tell us a few words about yourself?
Yes. First of all, I'm very excited to be part of this event. So to introduce myself, I am Atika Ahmed. I work with Hitachi Energy as a senior global mobility specialist. I'm based in Västerås, Sweden. I've been working as a global mobility specialist since quite a few years, since 2015. And this is one of the most relevant topic, like Dana said, and I'm excited to be part of the panel. Over to you, Rama.
Thank you. Thanks, Atika. I'm actually going to go to Carolina next. No worries.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm located in the beautiful sunshine state of Florida in the United States. I work for Siemens, and I've been working in the Global Mobility Management Department for the past 5 years. My team is located in Germany, and we deal with governance of the organization. Our emphasis is international immigration and labor law, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Carolina. We're not very jealous of you right now, being in a nice and warm place.
Well, I had to mention it.
You had to rub it in. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Over to you, Marketa.
Good day, everyone. I'm glad to be a part of this panel. I work in Siemens. I work in global mobility for almost 10 years now, and I work in the global framework team alongside with Carolina. Also, the main emphasis being immigration and labor law.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thanks, Marketa. Over to you, Rama.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I am from a city where vitamin D is lacking at the moment. It's freezing cold in London. And I'm quite jealous of you, Carolina. Yes. So I have been my roots have been deeply rooted in HR spectrum, and my core industries have been IT, consulting, as well as, so I come from Wipro, Ernst & Young, and I've been into the current firm, Aritians, leading the employee experience practice for our European, US, and UK region. Very excited to be here. Thanks, Dana, for providing the opportunity, and I can't wait to share the experiences.
Thank you. Great to have you here. Thank you, Rama. Over to you, Swapna.
Hello, my name is Swapna, and I'm gonna make you guys jealous too. So I'm from the Silicon Valley of India, in Bangalore. Currently about 30 degrees, and it's late evening here at about 8:30 p.m. So enjoying the weather. Of course, miss a little bit of snow. I represent a scale environment. So I represent a large IT service organization employing over 200,000 people. So talent mobility is very
Lost Swapna, but I'm sure she's going to come back. So we'll wait for Swapna to get back to us. Unfortunately, we've all had a few internet hiccups before joining, but we'll give her some time to reconnect. Well, thank you all. It's a pleasure having you here. I'm really grateful that you were able to join us. And hello to everyone in the audience. Hello, Nina. Hello, Mohammed. We're pleased to have you join us. And we're also excited to delve into this topic. Now, before we start, I just want to let you know that this session is brought to you by xpath.global, the technology company which developed the first collaborative global mobility ecosystem. One of the main elements of this ecosystem is the case management plan, which helps companies manage compliance, simplify global mobility processes, save costs, and improve the employee experience when managing international transfers, when managing remote workers, foreign recruits, or business travelers. Our platform promotes a seamless collaboration and transparency amongst HR, global mobility, transferees, and service providers. One of the standout features of our platform is the ability to bring together existing suppliers, but also access a pool of vetted suppliers for our marketplace of immigration, relocation, taxation, and moving services. To learn more about how Expand Global can benefit you, you can scan the QR codes throughout this session to book a demo and discuss how they can assist your operations. But without further ado, I'm keen to explore this topic in more detail and start the conversation by addressing some pressing questions to our panelists. We also encourage active participation from our audience, and as your questions and perspectives will enrich our conversation. So don't be shy. Do send us your questions and your feedback throughout the session. I'm pleased to see Swapna was able to come on the screen. I'll just give her the word as well to finish off her train of thought before we start in addressing. And there we go. Happy
So
birthday,
sorry.
Happy birthday. We'll do a public celebration here.
It's tomorrow.
Yes, well, we can start off early today. Thanks for letting us know. All right, Swapna, sorry, coming back to you. Do you want to just finish off your introduction, please?
Sure. Sorry about that. Technology can be a boon or a pain. So I represent an IT services organization called Wipro, where we recruit over 250,000 people. So we are a global organization with a footprint across the world, and talent mobility is very core to our existence, given that we have people moving around for experiences and short-term, long-term assignments. So I represent the HR function, not directly into mobility, but yes, as a as a ambassador for people, my job is to ensure that there's seamless mobility of talent across different international borders, and how why not use Gen AI and other technologies to elevate this experience. So I'm here to really talk about what we do and how we leverage technology and how we've made things seamless in the new age of AI. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks, Swapna. We're grateful that you're here and happy that you were able to reconnect. Just noting the diversity of this panel and the diverse locations we're all connecting from, I just want to reach out to the audience as well. I'm curious as well where they're joining us from. So please let us know. I want to say hello to Namita, Yasmin, Stacy, Varun. Thank you all for joining us, Tara. We look forward to getting your questions, and please feel free to share any thoughts, feedback you have in regards to today's conversation. Your inputs are key. And let's start off with our question set. And I'll start with you, Rama, if you don't mind. I want to ask you this. So as remote work becomes more prevalent, how can organizations ensure compliance in the dynamic and decentralized landscape of global mobility?
Thanks, Dana. And that's a great question, especially in today's world post-pandemic, what we term as new normal. Global mobility programs should actually incorporate the remote work into their purview to solve some of the organization's greatest challenge. And this can benefit not only the workforce, but also the workplace. So I read one of the latest report by Deloitte, and they had actually linked how remote work in global mobility spectrum can not only help us to drive the talent agenda that we have, but also meet the broader business's sustainability and ESG objectives. I'll tell you how. The remote work leads to significant reduction in travel and consumption. Now, organizations need to take that roads towards the net zero. And embracing remote work, which will reduce the employee's presence in the office, will also reduce the miles driven and eventually the carbon emission and the time lost in the traffic. Now, another aspect came into the picture was virtual meetings. Now, with the virtual meetings coming into the spectrum, they actually complement or partly at least replaces the business trips, which reduces the pollution which is linked to the air miles and then helps the organization cope up with the ever increasing red tape, linked to the international travel. Now, my thing would be that the organizations who want to actually reduce their carbon footprint should be reflecting very closely on the travel, the reasons for the travel, the global mobility assignments as well. Lastly, with regards to the compliance nowadays, tax authorities are becoming more severe. They are focusing on international remote work situations. There is an increased international collaboration between the authorities. With this, the administrative complexity is increasing, but the time frames to achieve this compliance are absolutely decreasing. So my thing would be that remote work, domestic or international, is high on the agenda of the business. In the war of talent or for achieving sustainability goals, it can actually play a vital role. Over to you, Dana.
Thanks, Rama. Thank you. Actually, I am currently doing remote work and I thoroughly enjoy it. But I also remember to a part of my career where I did remote work, forced by the circumstances, not necessarily by choice. And I've opened myself to some compliance risks that both me and my former company had to manage. So it is great to see that companies are still promoting and sustaining remote work, hybrid work. And yes, definitely it has a very, very high impact on the sustainability. But also really they ought to fully understand the compliance implications and do their due diligence in checking what does that mean for the company, for the employee, for the residency. So it's very important to think it through. So although the idea sounds great, there needs to be more work that's being put into it to make it compliant.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So but because compliance not just means tax or social security or immigration laws compliance, but it also refers to company policies, financial reporting, and the safety of employees, data protection, which is so important right now when we have laws like GDPR. So it's and how companies, like Rama said, it's very important that the companies should include it as a policy. Remote worker should be a policy, and then that is the first step to actually achieve or ensure compliance. And but so yeah, that is the first step, but but we need digital support to do that. So we need digital tools to ensure that mobility in itself is a very complex area, and there are in a normal move there are multiple considerations that we need to make about the employee, the of course the residential, the local laws, the domestic laws, the international laws pertaining to the tax, and also other regulatory framework that is there in the country. But when it comes to remote work, it adds further complexity, because then sometimes one thing that comes to my mind whenever I think of compliance and remote work is the issue of tax compliance related to creating a nexus or a permanent establishment. So that is one major concern for companies that have employees working abroad, because permanent establishment, as you know, it's a tax connection to a country, and it can be established by any employee status or about about the tax laws in the host in the country, and it will make the company where the home office is liable to tax, income tax and sales tax. So that brings a lot of cost on the company. So these are the things that have to be looked at on a wider scale, and actually captured. So the risk should be captured right at the start. So if a company, even if a company is including it in the policy, we need to have tools to actually monitor that and catch them at the very start, because then we can actually do mitigation action. But first, we should have the knowledge that yes, there is a risk.
That's very well said. Thanks for adding that, Atika. So you speak about technology. So we're all acknowledging the fact that global mobility compliance has evolved, and global mobility in itself is changing with the increasing integration of technology. But what challenges has this evolution presented? Marketa, I'm going to turn to you. What's your opinion on this, please?
Well, it has offered the integration of technology into our global mobility landscape, and the integration of mobility worldwide has presented a potential for standardization of international assignments. So it has given us the tool. It has given us an it has led to providing an assessment tool, and the main challenge, what I see in with making a technology as something that assesses whether a travel is compliant or not, is what tool we use, and is also looking at what sort of sources of information we have on which the tool runs. So somehow looking at also whether we have compliant sources of information from where we source our data on immigration, taxation, and so on. And when we look at it, perhaps in a more complex way, we also need to have a tool that allows us to somehow be agile. So if we have a tool that is able to make rapid responses to a change in immigration environment, then that is a huge benefit. And of course, we also need respectable partners to be able to respond also in an agile way to any maintenance of the tool. So I think these are the main challenges. And about the technology, so from this, it comes to light that the technology as itself, it's not the main contributor here, but we have also the human input there, which plays a huge role in an assessment of an individual travel, because the assessment, the technology allows us to set a standard, but it does not usually deal with complexities.
Thanks, Marketa. I agree. So the technology is really important, and you mentioned the needs. Really understanding these needs. Now, coming from a technology provider point of view, what I can say was what I've noticed is the frequency and how rapidly the needs of the industry change. So it's important to recognize the need for the technology. But just seeing how quickly it evolves and how frequently the needs of the global mobility industry changes, it's mind-blowing. Now, it's great because technology is meant to be there to rapidly adapt. But from my point of view, I think this is one of the challenges that I see, that these needs, they're being understood, they're being articulated, but they do change quite frequently for all the right reasons. And of course, when you also throw a pandemic in there and the change in the way we do work, yes, that has even more of an impact.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
perhaps yeah, but perhaps one of the challenges is also the mindset. Like in case of remote work, like we touched upon, it's like Atika mentioned, we need to have some sort of policy in place on which we can build on, and without having that, it's impossible and to basically do the correct monitoring. And further to that, and it also a policy helps to grow the mindset within the company and within the workforce, that this is something that is not only protecting the assessment is not only protecting the company, but mainly the employees themselves from compliance risk associated. Yeah, so yeah, definitely agree with that.
It's a daily debate, the remote working.
Yes.
It is. And the policies, as Marketa rightly pointed out, like I'm seeing more and more of our current clients and potential new clients are actively engaged in policy reviews. And yes, of course, then changing the policy will change you the need for what you need in terms of a technology. So it's really important. I mean, they all go hand in hand, but it's important to really allocate time and resource to these activities, and then once those needs are defined, to then look for a suitable option in terms of the technology platform.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing more I just wanted to
Yes,
add, Dana,
please.
on this about ensuring compliance. When we say ensuring compliance, and when we talked about digital tools, I have seen in our case, when we adopted a digital tool, there were so many reporting possibilities that we had. That is a great functionality, and that actually guides the organization way towards policy change and strategic decisions as well. So that is also something that a digital tool does. Um, yeah, that was it.
Yes, I like that. I'm curious how many people in our audience like reports and or are asked to produce reports for various compliance checks. So please feel free to let us know in the chat function. All right. Well, still on the same topic of compliance. So, how do we define the right balance between technology-driven solutions and human involvement in global mobility? And Swapna, I'm going to look to you for an input on this, please.
Sure. So, thank you. I think, like I said, I'm, in a large scale environment where I typically have more than 10,000 people traveling across locations for different kind of assignments, IT assignments with clients, whether it's the Americas, whether it's the UK, whether it's Asia Pacific. So we have people typically moving around for short-term or long-term assignments, and typically the way they work is they go to a client location, work to get the requisite client know-how. A lot of them grow on roles there. Some of them come back to the home country, so there's also a little bit of repatriation that also happens. So, in such a context, I think while AI is something that's a phrase at the tip of everyone's tongue with a lot of fear and insecurities, I think I see it as something that's really helped us simplify a lot of repetitive tasks at Wipro. And I'll just talk about a couple of used cases that's really helped us see efficiencies in our business. So I think the first one is, given that we have a large number of travelers, I think we've used a lot of tools. We build tools in house, given that we are an IT enterprise. So we've typically had AI to create a data bank of all things mobility. So if there's a traveler who's hypothetically traveling to the US from, say, India, uh, uh, everything is there up on the tool in terms of what are the different types of visas, how do you obtain your visa, how do you go ahead and get your ticketing done, your housing, what's your per diem allowances there, what are the schooling arrangements for kids, what are the different tax implications. All of that's actually been put together by using Gen AI, and it's therefore a self-starter kit for all our assignees who actually travel to different locations. This has definitely helped us reduce a lot of tickets that otherwise come to our contact center, which handles all the different mobility aspects. We've also started using chatbots in terms of the patterns that we've noticed of different queries coming in from our talent who are traveling around. And this has helped create patterns and therefore create chatbots that address these questions. I think this has been a really very popular tool that we've introduced. Another thing that we've also done is started experimenting the use of AI for verification of documents. As I think all of you would agree with me, visa processing is a very cumbersome process. It has tons of paperwork, and ideally, in the erstwhile world, we used to have somebody, a ticket being raised, and somebody humanly looking at those documents, validating, and coming back after a particular turnaround time. But with AI, these documents can be verified. And if they meet the parameters, the verification comes in successful. If they don't meet the parameters, there's a manual intervention that actually comes in to do a double click on the documents. So paper and document validation and processing have become really quick and instant with AI, and I think that's a big plus which we can actually leverage on. And like Atika also said, we've started using AI for a lot of compliance dashboards, whether it's wage compliances, whether it's work authorization, whether it's just plain visa and immigration status, or a time that's pending on your visa and the fact that you need to renew your visas. Things like that is something that's prompted by the system and it's really fed to us. So I think definitely technology is paving the way for a lot of errors. It's paving the way for a lot of repetitions that can otherwise be, curtailed, and we can reduce the time and therefore improve the efficiencies. One thing that I'm very, optimistic or rather futuristic about, I've also read somewhere that AI can personalize experience. So, for somebody who wants to go to the UK or wants to go and work in Brazil, for instance, AI gives you an augmented version of how Brazil really looks to you, and they're able to see the streets, see where they're going to live, and it actually gives them a complete look and feel in terms of an augmented reality platform. I think that's pretty futuristic, but I know there's some companies that's also making inroads there. So I think the potential is immense to use technology, and so that mobility managers can otherwise focus on more important aspects of what are the skills of the talent, what are the interests, what are their aspirations, and therefore help them in terms of fitting into the right opportunities and leaving all the mundane paperwork and repetitive tasks to technology. So I think that's definitely the power of technology that we need to harness.
Thank you. That's very very well said. We do need to harness, but like you said, it's really about finding the right balance, because you wouldn't trust a chatbot to manage an immigration process for you. You feel like over there perhaps you'd really want to have the human touch, because of that risk of non-compliance, because of the high cost that could be associated, reputational risk if something was to go wrong. So it is still, I feel like, a challenge for all companies to really understand what can they place in the hands with the commas of AI, and what can be trusted only to humans.
Like it was mentioned by Swapna about the augmented experience, but then the human element of duty of care cannot be taken away from that, right? So that is where the balance will be. That there will be, like Swapna very nicely put everything, that it automates our compliance process, but the human involvement comes to manage the risk that is associated with that compliance risk that has been highlighted by the tool, or or if it is just for compliance, or coming back to Swapna's thing about augmented experience, then duty of care comes in with its human element that cannot be replaced, right? So yeah, so that is also one point I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I think Atika, I agree with you. Technology can solve, automate processes, streamline workflows, engage employees, but reality, we need the experts to analyze the of cases where they have more complexities that cannot be managed by the tool. And I think to manage a lot of high volume, the tool will be ideal. But reality, we need our consultants to be able to assess those complex cases and to give compliance and legal advice. And I don't know. I don't think there is the right answer to say 60%, 40%, or anything like that. But we need both. We
Yes.
need good technology with the right experts to make it happen and to stay compliance.
But I think with the technology into the picture, now the
Hmm.
professionals have more time towards thinking the other things.
Yes.
To consult.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Hmm.
there's
that's
no more recurring tasks that they were earlier. I even back in
Correct.
my starting of the career in mobility, we were so much involved in the manual efforts that we literally had, I think 0% is the right thing to say towards
Hmm.
effort,
Correct.
time to give towards employee talent management or development or succession planning. And now our mobility professionals in my business are also involved in these aspects because
Hmm.
they have time. So they have two of these mundane tasks, so as to say, and they have time to analyze it. Earlier, we were doing it all
Hmm.
by ourselves, so there was no time as well.
exactly
Yeah, so that's something which is really beneficial for us.
very
I like that. They're freeing up time to do other tasks that do need a human
true.
input. I
So
love that.
now, yeah, exactly, because from like Rama said, that was how the picture was a few years back. So we were more working on an administrative operational level rather than being on a strategic partner right now. So our roles have been able to metamorphosize into this role of strategic partner to the business and all the stakeholders is because we have time. Like Swapna also pointed out, it frees up time for the other critical aspects that only humans can do right now.
Thank you. So I'm conscious we already touched on some ways that technology has streamlined and has helped the global mobility processes. But wondering, Carolina, is there anything else that you can add? Any other specific examples? And here I'm not necessarily I'm not talking about tools, but initiatives of how technology and initiatives examples of how technology has been successfully harnessed to streamline compliance in particular for global mobility.
Yeah, I think that after we have a global framework in the company and we partner with the right tool, we can streamline those processes. I think that employees always have the need to be able to enter in one channel for the company and I don't know, assess their cases. I think technology is very useful because they could get on demand results, which is avoiding the time. We don't need to check an inbox anymore for reviewing something. I think this is huge, for an organization to be able to have less time to spend on those standard cases that we have, and that the tool with our expertise are able to manage that. So, to me, some examples is just what we used to do by hand, as they mentioned. Now we process I don't know how many cases at the same time, because they're standard cases, and then we can focus on the complex part as a company. I think every company has different appetite for compliance and how risk can be tolerated. And once that's defined, we can define the tools, the boundaries, and then we can go off the off scenarios. So I think that's my point
I
of view
think,
on technology and humans and the
sorry,
examples.
I'm
Mhm,
excited to chip in
Sorry.
because we have recently adopted a digital tool. So from
mhm,
so yeah, so the things that I have experienced were the expense management tool option, and that is something that is really great.
mhm,
Meaning where we can actually track what were the expenses and what actually were the cost estimates done. Then another important thing is that these tools also are have the backing of tax engines, and those tax engines are changing as the tax laws are changing. So
mhm,
they are, and that that makes us compliant in our calculations. Then we are following the tax laws, even though it's the tax engine, but the tax engine is constantly changing as per the tax laws. Then, and also for the immigration compliance, so we have API with the vendor, so then we get real-time data, and that real-time data helps us in being compliant with the immigration deadlines or social security certificates deadline or anything like that. It brings everything, or employee tracking, at a completely different level to help the global mobility specialist.
And also to expand on this, it also allows you to communicate an immediate change with immediately. So by adapting the system, you can we were all saying how the administration was difficult and how to communicate change in immigration. Here, a simple adoption of the tool can help, communicate that change in immigration instantly. Okay, there might be further questions that are down the line, of course, which you will need to, but it will at least help you to make a clear statement. Well, there's a danger, there's other things that need to be discussed here. Please consult with delegation consultants. So that's another thing where this instant communication is really valuable. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very well said. So we touched on processes. We touched on a governance process and the need for transparency and communication. And this just takes me again to the solution proposed by xpath Global. Now, I want to invite everyone who hasn't discovered it yet to come in and join us for a demo, because what we do offer is just that, a collaborative platform that allows the stakeholders to work together. It allows the service providers to integrate with the HR, global mobility professionals, and the transferees in a very transparent and very collaborative ecosystem. So the case management system has got some of the features that you've all regarded as beneficial, like things like cost projection, salary calculator. But there's a lot more that can be done in it to help manage those internal processes and the benefits and the compliance guidelines that companies have. So, and this case management allows you to manage your existing suppliers, integrate, have just one tool. I know we mentioned several providers, and each one comes with their own platform. But I guess what I'm seeing as well from our clients is really the disconnect when you have to go to multiple platforms, multiple tools to get your answers. So what xpath Global can do is help streamline that, bring all of those suppliers into one platform to standardize it, give the same look and feel, and standardize across the patch. Now, there's various features that are relevant to each stakeholders. And like I mentioned, this case management is complemented by a marketplace of immigration, location, tax, and moving services, where companies can go and find an answer to all their mobility needs. Now, I do want to invite you all to come and discover this in more detail and see how xpath Global can assist your operations. One of the main focuses is really to address and tackle compliance, but not just that. It's also about employee experience, helping you get a good grasp on the costs of your tracking, your internal processes, deliverables, and also supplier deliverables. And one of the main benefits that I see as well is the standardization and the fact that it allows you to work with your existing providers, but also open up a marketplace should you ever need to change. Now, compliance and technology will go hand in hand, but like we all said about it so far, it's really about finding that right balance between technology and human involvement. So there's going to be processes that you can automate, but also you need the visibility of those processes, the results that you can track. You can have a person oversee and make sure it doesn't open up the risk of non-compliance. But we talk about technology, and we know the reliance on technology is increasing across the globe. But I am curious if there's different, if there are any notable differences in the level of reliance on technology versus human expertise across the globe. So, and what factors could contribute to these variations? Like, do you see that, given that we've got a diverse panel here coming from all over the world? I'm curious, do you see it in some of the other regions more than others, like the reliance on technology for managing compliance as opposed to others? So here,
Maybe I can jump
I'm
in.
curious to hear from all of you, really, because you all come from various areas. So whatever you feel like it's relevant to your region, please do
Mhm.
share. Also, the audience, I'd love to hear your own opinion of this, because you as well, I assume, come from various parts of the world. So what do you think in terms of the reliance on technology based on the regions and the different parts of the world?
There is also not just regions, Dana. I will also say that it depends on the industry also and the
Yes.
task that is performed. So it's that, and also mostly that in my experience, it's the cost of compliance. So that is also, there are certain regions which can take the cost of compliance, and these tools are not cheap. So, and they come at a cost, and they have to be continuously maintained. Their license fees for the entire duration of the time that you will have that tool, which is the lifetime of a company probably. Then the availability of technology, that also is a big contribute factor on how the dynamics are different in different countries or regions or areas. Um, so that is that influences the organization's response to how they deal with compliance needs.
Yeah, that's spot on, Atika. I just want to point out in regards to the costs, I think it's really important to have access to the full information. And for companies, we need to encourage companies to really search out and explore what's available on the market, because this is a common perception that technology comes with a high price. It doesn't have to be that way. And again, I want to point out just Expat Global's particular example that really offers a mobility platform for as little as 7.5 or 9.5 euros per expat per month, or transferee, so any employee with a mobility need. So people, I think, need to get away from the from fearing that it's going to come at a high cost, because it can actually you can find affordable solutions, you can find cost-effective options that can help meet your needs, and just explore what's out there, explore on the market, because the needs, like we said, are changing, and technology providers are really looking at addressing those needs. And I feel like it's safe to say that we all understand now that cost is a very important element for organizations. So some companies are striving to provide cost-effective options to help
Mhm.
companies manage compliance.
I agree with you, Dana. In fact, sorry to jump in.
Oh, no, that's fine. No, go ahead.
I mean, in my experience, the last few years, our focus had been to expand into the European markets. And those who have worked in Europe, they know like every country is different. Their regulations are different, compliance is different, immigration is different. And the challenge becomes even more tougher when you want to just employ one or two folks. So it's not like a big scale of employees that you want to deploy in that particular country. And the workforce is scattered. And that's where I truly agree that technology, the compliance technology, along with the EURs being present at the moment, the employer of records, they help us, the organizations like us who just want to go around in different regions, and literally we just have to sit back, we have to provide them the employee details, and then all from the immigration to the payroll to the compliance, everything is taken into the consideration. So that I have personally observed specifically in European markets, being I'm not sure if it is a trend or not, but definitely very beneficial if somebody wants to expand and with a small workforce but scattered around the European regions. So that has been very
Mm.
beneficial.
Yeah, I'd
I
like to
I
add
could
on.
jump in. Ah, sorry.
Sorry, you can go on.
No, I was gonna say that I see a difference in the region. In my case, I have my team located in Germany. I deal with a lot of people from Germany, and then I also see the Latin American. And I feel that in Latin American, and I'm not including Canada or United States, even Mexico, but I see a little bit more resistant to technology in the Latin American. They do like the human touch. They do want to speak to someone. I see them a little bit hesitant to trust a tool. Of course, everything comes with training and development and making them aware of the policies in place. And I do feel that that will change because it's the nature, but to me it's a little bit more challenging with the mindset in the Latin American, just because everything seems to be in a table, right? Like we all negotiate around the table, eating a coffee. Like I think these relationships is very important, and once we build in the Latin American the relationship, we want to continue to have that front end. So that's my experience between working in different regions and the Latin American. I think that it's increasing. Of course, technology is there and we all know it. Uh, but companies have to do a little bit more emphasis on, I don't know, present of what we are offering to them, and to trust the tools. I think the trust is what is lacking a little bit.
Thank you. Thanks. That's a good point. And Swapna, you wanted to add something?
Yes. So,
Please.
in my view, so I personally have been around, stayed in the UK for a couple of months for a short-term assignment, traveled to UAE, lived in the US for 3 years, and then now I'm a Canadian citizen working in India. So I've been around the place. I don't think the complexity differs by geography. It also differs with intent of how long, how short, what's your purpose of travel, and what's your intent. And a lot of them are backed by skill sets. Like in the United States, there are longer wait times to get your visa, there's a lottery, there's years of wait time for green cards and things like that. But I think it doesn't really differ by country. Everything has its own merits and has its own complexities. uh, from a technology and human interface, I think there are some things that technology can never replace. We had an unfortunate incident in our organization where there was a person who went for a 12-month assignment to the US. And unfortunately, one of his family members was in another country, in the home country. And that person met with an accident, right? And this person had to rush back and attend to the medical needs, go back in time. These are things that cannot be replaced by a chatbot. There was a mobility advisor enabling them to come back despite having visa challenges because they could not step out of the country for a particular window, and they still had to make sure that they come back and take care of the child, go back, and things like that. Those are aspects that can never be replaced by technology. I have a bunch of folks. I remember when I was deputed in Canada, in the Western Canada, it was the first person landing on the Canadian soil for a new business. And I didn't know anything about the winters there. They're extremely chilly. It's minus 40. And I had a bunch of people traveling back after me, like they were joining my team. And they wanted that one person to latch on who's already landed in the country, seen all the aspects, whether it's schooling, housing, commute, weather, simple things like winter clothes. Those are things that they wanted a buddy to help them and not technology. So none of the data banks, none of the chat boxes is going to substitute that. They still wanted that go-to person to talk to before they board the flight and venture out to a novel country. So I think those are human aspects that you cannot replace with technology. However, there are things like annual audits and regulatory visits on the other end. Again, you need a mobility advisor right there. You cannot have technology leave it to chance from technology standpoint, right? So I think while technology has its benefits, there are aspects that just cannot be replaced by technology. So we have to kind of have that right balance.
That's spot on, and thank you, and thanks for sharing that example that has happened in your company. It is unfortunate, but there's more of that happen each day for companies, and you rightly said it. There's no chatbot that could have help assist and provide that human touch, that necessary human interaction in that particular case. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Now, I think we all agree that we need technology, we need humans to also complement that technology. But when we talk about what considerations do we need to take into account when integrating automating tools into the compliance process, and how can these tools be effectively aligned with human decision making? And I'm going to turn to you, Marketa, for your input on this, please.
When we're let me to get the questions
No
once
worries.
more.
It's around what considerations, when you talk about tools to manage compliance, what do you think we need to consider?
I think the main considerations that we need to take into consideration, we need to judge is the tool itself, whether we have a tool, think that is able to provide a fast with the preconditions that we set in it, is able to provide a fast evaluation on standardization. And another vital point is the legal expertise that is or the expertise behind it. So the data input and someone who's managing managing for us the maintenance of the data, and perhaps also managing the validity of the data. So whether the correctiveness of the assessments, perhaps via testing, and not human testing, but perhaps even robotizing the testing, so that we can have a vast grip on the number of test cases that we can run through the tool, so that we're happy with us having a minimal errors in the assessments. I think that's the main thing that to consider when considering tools.
Can I add something, Marketa? I don't know if you'd agree with this, but and I agree with all your points. But just a step before that would be an organizational's itself need assessment. First the organization or the key stakeholders in the organization need to first. I'd have to think what are their compliance automation opportunities, what do they want to automate, because recently we went through an implementation and I was leading the project, and I realized that just having policies and just having processes in place which is being used manually up till now is not sufficient, because when you automate a system you need to have very very clear processes. You need to have processes which you can convert into business rules and convert into clear logic, because it will go into machine logic. Then the machine is going to support you in your compliance needs. But to automate it, we first have to be very clear in assessing our own needs and what we want to automate actually. And then basically what are our challenges, why do we need automation, and like we all mentioned this, that how like you mentioned, Maketa, that it can cut down cost hours, it can take away the errors that can be human error that can be made. So there is a step before that, I think, that we should also have before we come to the testing of the implementation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Sorry, go, Carolina.
No, I think that defining the strategy of the organization it's a key factor. It's the first step, identifying that we have a need. We need to know where we are, where our workforce is, where they want to go, set up those boundaries. And once we have do the preliminary work of defining everything, then we could customize the tool to help us define and highlight those risks. So I do agree that there are steps to it. But once technology is moving, then we definitely need to have the right partners to feed the information, to have the compliance in there. And we will always rely on the expert legal I will say tax, immigration, or whatever aspect is to ensure that everything is working smoothly. So it's a cycle, right? It's always, and sometimes we could define the strategy at the beginning and we may be different in a couple of years. You know, things are evolving so fast that even the company strategy may need to change and may need to evolve. And I think that's where the technology is important, that is able to be adapted, that we're able to modify as the needs are coming. Something that could grow with the company, because I could be very strict maybe on my way of doing things right now, but we need flexibility as we move along. Or maybe I'm very flexible right now and I want to go back to being a little bit more strict at that point. So I think to me, technology really needs to be adaptable to the company strategy, and that needs to be revised, and a department needs to definitely manage the compliance, the operation, and the cost associated with everything.
I think,
Thank you.
Dana, just one thing here. While it is important, and I really agree with Atika and Carolina Marketa that it's required to assess the business requirement. Equally important is to assess the employees, what they are trying to, what are their challenges.
Mm-hmm,
What are they suffering, or what's their priority list, so
mm-hmm,
that we can actually filter down, like, this is what we need at this quarter, maybe put so from the technology, this is what we need, or this is what our demographics need. Let me put it this way. Then it doesn't have to be done and dusted job. Like, we implemented in a full swing the technology,
mm-hmm.
and that's it. But then we have to regularly monitor the
Monitor.
feedback from the employees, understand, like, okay, this is what we did, can we like improvise it, is this working
Mm-hmm,
actually or not?
Yeah.
While the investment has gone from the cost perspective, I think a lot of ethics also goes. So if we really want this to work in our way, I think we need to utilize the full potential of the technology. And to do that, there is a regular monitoring required along with the correct assessment on the employee and the business perspective.
mm-hmm,
Agreed.
Thank you.
Maintenance is a part of any digital tool that a company implements. Maintenance is a part, maintenance cost, and the ongoing cost for maintenance should also be budgeted. So this is something that all tools require, a maintenance.
mm-hmm,
Yes, and also a good relationship between that technology service provider and their clients, where they really adapt their needs and they show responsiveness and timeliness in enacting those changes. I think it's really key. And you pointed out about the employee experience. That is so important. The user friendliness of the tool,
mm-hmm,
how you take your employees, the end users, the ones that are actually using the technology platform is something really important. It's something that we do truly
Yeah.
value at Expat Global, and we want to factor in, and that's why we bring in those end users and into the platform to allow them to have access to this experience. Now, I want to also point out and just take this comment that we received from the audience in regards to the notable differences in global mobility, whether it's an individual moving globally within a company or if they're part of the digital nomad scene. So we know the digital nomad scene is growing, and we agree as well with the user that's posted this. So he's talking about the access to technology and to facilitate global mobility, and his thoughts are that is currently scarce. I just want to point out there are still solutions out there. And again, I'm going to refer to the Expat Global that also helps the B2C element, the digital nomads, the expatriates, the people who want to move from one place to the other that aren't necessarily associated with a company, that just want to relocate to another company. They can also have access to the benefits of our ecosystem, to a marketplace, to a mobile app that allows them to go find global mobility service providers all over the world to assist with their needs. So the solutions are out there, and we're doing a lot to like increase the awareness, because people believe, oh, global mobility is easy just for companies because they're large and they've got resources and all of that. But no, the platforms are out there. They're out there. We hope to increase the outreach and let you guys know that we can also help individuals who are looking to relocate. So it's not scarce anymore. There are options out there. We invite you to come and explore it in more detail. And And yeah, come see it for yourself. But global mobility doesn't have to be something that just companies can manage. Individuals should also be able to manage on their own with the help of technology. So I can't believe we're running out of time. So I feel like I must end now. And thank you all for joining us today on this insightful LinkedIn event on tech-driven compliance, navigating legal challenges in global mobility. I feel like we could talk about this topic for a few more hours, but unfortunately we need to say goodbye. So I'm going to extend my gratitude to our panelists for sharing their expertise and valuable insights. I'm extremely grateful. And also to sorry. Also to all of you in the audience for your participation and engagement, for staying with us and sharing your insights, your comments, and we hope you can join us again for our future events. If you want to stay updated with the latest news on HR tech and global mobility, or learn more about Expat Global's innovative solution, upcoming summits and conferences, we invite you to follow our LinkedIn page for more information. And thanks again to our panelists. You've been great. I'm extremely grateful for your participation. And thanks, Expat Global, for sponsoring the event. I hope you've all gained valuable insights and enjoyed the conversation. And I look forward to continuing this discussion in the future.
Thank you so much, Dana, for organizing it. And thank you all. It was lovely conversing with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.